What's up, everybody? How you all doing today? Another Wednesday and another live stream. So we've got Andrew Bellini, aka Digital Andrew, with us today. Which Andrew does lots of live streams now, so you all know who he is. But talking about the new set that launched quietly on Monday. So some people, I think, have already spotted it, and some people have already taken it. But officially today is the launch day, so that's very exciting. And what's up, Andrew? How you doing?
Hey, I am doing great. I'm really excited. I love launch days. They're always like exciting, lots of build up around them, and then to get it out, and it's always super exciting because you work on stuff here for a long time. So it sometimes is really rewarding once it finally comes out and you can see it and have people take it and see them pass and love it, which is good.
Do you do what I do? So whenever something like goes live, do you wake up in like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning and check your phone, like check Discord and Slack and stuff to see whether there are any issues? I always do this.
Yeah, I do. I always I don't know, I'm up at random times or like early or whatnot. So yes, 100%.
Yeah, nice. All right, so yeah, do you want to give us a rundown? Give us the whole exam, what it's all about, how we can pass.
Yeah,
What it's tied
absolutely,
to.
for sure.
Let's throw that out there to begin with.
Let's pull up the this is what's linked in the banner down below. So if you do want to read more about it, but so this is our most entry level cert that is focused around working as a tier 1 help desk technician, analyst, support, help desk. There's a lot of titles for it. And it focuses around, like all of our other exams, being very practical. And this one, you actually sit a day in the life, essentially, of a tier 1 help desk worker that just started at a new company. So, this blurb says it all really well. Prove you've got the skills and knowledge to excel working in a help desk. Real world hands-on exam. It's 8 hours long, so it's like one help desk shift, and you'll work to close common tickets and write internal documentation. So the way that it actually works is you'll get connection to a remote environment through a VPN, like we usually do. And this is a simulated small office environment. And inside of that, there is a ticketing portal where you'll sign in and there will be tickets assigned to you. And they are very common help desk tickets that a level 1 help desk analyst would get. And then your job is to go through, complete the tasks of, whatever it says in that ticket in the environment. So if it's, common Active Directory tasks, troubleshooting, those kind of things, you just go in, do those. Your job is to respond to the ticket as well. So not only just do you need to go in and do the task, but you need to prove you've also got those communication skills to properly close a ticket, provide instructions if required, close it, reassign it to someone else. And then also to get you to write some internal knowledge-based documentation of what you're doing, because that is also an important part of the help desk as well. So yeah, it's specifically designed, and I think it's really cool. Like, this might be one of the most realistic. I mean, all of ours are, but like this one is very much like, yeah, I'm signing in for a help desk shift and I do it. And like, that's what your day would be like.
Yeah, nice. Do you gain or lose points for saltiness on the tickets?
You would lose points because you gotta show you've got tact and customer service. And but yes, we had a lot of beta testing going on, and there's quite a few members of the TCM security team who took it, because a lot of them actually started in help desk and have significant help desk experience, so they offer to test it. And yeah, some of them put in some interesting responses to see how it would get graded from the tickets to the comments. So, but that, like, we're actually marking on, like, do you have tact? Can you do customer service? Can you communicate effectively through your writing?
Yeah, it's actually, and it's also kind of a nice way to figure out if you've never done this kind of role before. Then one, you're gonna learn a ton, because you never learn more than anything that you learn on like your first pen test, your first day in like a new technical role,
Yeah.
your first day on like working on a production system. All of those, like, those are really precious times where you just suddenly, like, so many things click into place. And
Yes.
so it's kind of a nice experience for that as well. So just as a learning experience, not just as an exam, it's pretty nice, and it's pretty nicely set up as well. So I've got some questions for you. I can see some questions coming in. So if you guys have questions, drop them into the chat, and we'll do our best to get through them. But of course, I also have some questions as well. So, and I always get priority on the first one or two to make sure they go out of the way. But the first one is kind of for everybody. So I've been through the exam a couple of times now, and I have my like opinions of how I would approach it if I was to do it from scratch. But in terms of like tips or how to approach the exam and how to prepare for it, what would you say is the best approach? Because me personally, I never worked on Helpdesk before, but I know that you have a lot of experience in just technical roles, not just like what I did was being a dev. So
sure. Yeah. So to prepare for it, this one, like all of our courses and certifications, we work very hard to make sure that everything you need to pass in the certification is covered in the course in detail, which like I know for some people that have not taken our exams or are coming from an academic background, it's sometimes hard to trust that. Like there is that meme of like all the old white men laughing. I don't know if you're familiar with that meme format. And it's like, and then I said all of the stuff in the exam would be caught in the course, and they all just burst out laughing. But it's not like that. Like everything that is in this certification and exam is covered very well in depth in the course. It's a 17-hour course. About half of it is literally hands on the keyboard, doing troubleshooting, setting up things, setting up Active Directory, troubleshooting Windows, Linux, networking, all of that. So take the course, and then the exam itself is focused on completing real world tickets that are very common in the help desk. And in the course, in almost every section, there is a type of lesson I call a ticket interrupt, where we stop what we're doing. A simulated ticket comes up on the screen. I ask the students to pause it and say, go and try and solve this ticket yourself. They ask everything ranging from, creating GPOs to setting up cron jobs in Linux or creating new users. So do all of those, but like it's not enough to watch them. You gotta like get your hands dirty, do the hands-on work. And if you do all of that, then I'm certain you can ace the exam. So as far as prep, that is what I would suggest. Tips for taking it. The biggest one I would say is just go slow and read the tickets and the knowledge base. Because a lot of that is a big part of help desk. And like, there's no tricks, there's no trick questions. There's nothing like tricky, but I think that was the biggest mistake we saw from beta testing is people that were, just read kind of really quickly, glanced the ticket, and they're like, oh, I know how to do that. And then they forgot like, one of the common steps that would be important in that ticket. Yeah. So read that. And then there's a knowledge base, which has a search feature, and it tells you, not only like how to do stuff, but also like some of the rules or practices of that company on how they do things. Because for example, like, I know installing software or things like that, like it's going to differ from company to company, and you don't want to break the rules around how that works. So yeah, that's my tip. Yeah. And if you do all that stuff, like, yeah, this exam is designed to be one that simulates that job environment realistically. And I think if you do all that prep, then you would be ready to work in that job and ace the exam.
Nice. All right, let's take a couple of questions that have come in already. I think we can like quick fire a couple of them. So first up, good question from Alexander. The cert doesn't expire. None of our certifications do. So once you've done it, you're set.
Yeah, so it's like $149 right now, and then like there's not you're good to go. So I mean, it's pretty good value, in my opinion, as far as like having a cert on your resume.
And the next one from Dan. So is the exam graded immediately, or is the report graded by a real person? So good question. We have a mixture.
Yes. So yeah, I will share a little bit of how this one is marked. So this one's a little bit different from our other ones in that all of the things that you need to do in the ticket can be programmatically verified, which makes sense. Like if you basically anything you do on a computer for the most part can be.
Yeah.
So completing the tasks in the tickets. So I'll give an example that doesn't spoil it because this is not on the exam, but say, it was like go in and change the IP address of this network adapter from DHCP to a static IP of this. So if the ticket says to do that, you would need to go in the network or into the computer and do that. And then you would need to close the ticket and say, hey, it's done. Like I'm closing it. I did these details. And then afterwards in your report, you would write up a really quick knowledge base article that says, this is how you do this so that the next person that gets that would be able to follow it. And it would be really brief. Like it would be like step 1, click start. Step 2, click control panel. Step 3, go to network and sharing center. Step 4, click show adapters, adapter settings, right click. So, and then you put that into a report. The exam is graded both on your technical ability. So if you actually do the tickets, and those are checked automatically because, you either did it or you didn't. There's not a lot of ambiguity. So that is some of the marks for the exam. The rest of the marks for the exam are from how you handle the tickets and close them. So you'll put screenshots of any of the comments and stuff in your report, plus your knowledge base. And yes, those are graded by a real person that looks at it and checks those over. So it's a little bit of both, but you won't get it back immediately. But, our sport team is pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right. And is the cert exam the same as the beta? So if you did the beta, then there will be some tweaks and changes.
Yes.
But overall, the format won't have changed. So it's still like generally the same approach. We always take the beta feedback and we make tweaks and things like this.
Yes. Yeah, we had great feedback from the beta, and I think like the only really big changes are to the documentation that's provided with it to just make it more clear about how to do everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so let me throw a couple more questions in, and I think we've already kind of covered like how it simulates the real world. You've got to go in, you've got to do basically a day as a helpdesk engineer. But what makes the PhDA exam different from like other generic IT certifications that focus on like things like theoretical knowledge or other things are at least the same entry level or the same that are aimed at the same level?
Yeah, so I think the biggest difference between both the training and the exam itself is that it is very hands-on, practical, focused on specific tasks. So other exams that are popular in this area, I feel like are designed specifically so that, the overall knowledge will last for a long time and be valid for a long time, but they're not showing like things that you could specifically take like day one on your job and like do exactly that. They're much more theoretical and high level. And to my knowledge, with the exam, there is no like hands-on like this exam. Like this is not like a simulated environment in that like it's some browser kind of thing. Like no, you get a VPN pack, you are going into, it's only simulated in that we're hosting it. It's not a real company's, but like you're going into real computers, real networks, real domain controller. And I don't know anywhere that does that level of simulation, and like not a single multiple choice question. Like there's no flags, there's no multiple choice questions. It's literally just go in and do your job and show that you can do that. And then afterwards, once you have that cert, then you can prove that, hey, yeah, I can do this job.
Yeah, nice. That makes sense. Good question from Dan here. So solving tickets. If we use an advanced method, will we still get credit, especially if the answer is correct? And the short answer is yeah. If you
Yes.
solve the ticket, doesn't really
Yeah.
matter how you solved it.
Yeah. Because so like, yeah, if you use a PowerShell, like I'm not like recording what's going on in the exam environment. I'm just checking like, did this thing like
The
get
result.
done, like the
Yeah.
results. So like, maybe was like, this user needs access to this shared folder. Well, I'm actually using PowerShell in the backend to check that. And like, they either do or they don't. Like everything is pretty clear in terms of it. So yeah, you can do it however you want, as long as you get the right outcome.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. What do you think if somebody's trying to land their first ever kind of like IT help desk role? Do you think
Yeah.
it's ideal for them, or would you recommend they take anything else alongside it?
So so it's a new certification. So like as far as the knowledge you need, I think this exam would be sufficient. And we actually it was awesome. We had a CIO beta test the exam also. He did a great job on it. And some of the feedback that I got back from him, we'll probably put it in testimonials because it was awesome. But he said, like, as a hiring manager, now that I've taken this exam, I would be very confident hiring anyone that had this certification and had this on their resume. I would know they would be able to like excel and do well at the job. So as far as the knowledge, yes. But I mean, it is a new certification. That is the reality of, what we're trying to do and change this market. So like he was like, but one of the biggest hurdles will just be demonstrating that to people. But, we're working hard in the background to try and get the news out about what this cert and our hands-on certs do. And eventually it gets picked up. So will it be enough? Just that? Maybe not. But the other thing we do in the course is I really suggest that you do all of the hands-on stuff and document it and make a video about it, make your own website, make a blog about it, because that kind of stuff stands out a lot as well. And I really suggest people take the soft skills course as well, which is free. And I kind of consider it to be like basically an add-on, or like, you should do the help desk course, then the soft skills course right after, almost as if they're the same course. And that shows you how to make your own Notion website and everything. And you should do that and, document your Active Directory stuff, document all of that. I think the combo of that plus, talking about the certificate and the training is sufficient, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. Nice. I have a couple of other questions that come in, but they're kind of not entirely related, but we've talked about this before.
Sure.
And when are we going to release a Go course?
I don't know. I'm glad they asked, because now I'm going to go to Heath and be like, hey, people are asking about Go course again. Because so like personally, Golang is one of my favorites programming languages, and it's the one that I'm the most familiar in. So like it's on the roadmap. At some point, I'm going to do a Golang course, probably 2 of them. Actually, probably like a 101 and a 201. And maybe later this year, like maybe Q3, Q4 this year. I can't make any promises, but yeah, I know I want to do it.
Why do you like Go so much?
I like statically typed languages. So Go is statically typed. I also like how easy and well like concurrency works in Go. I find that to be challenging to do in other languages, and for Go, it works so well. And then it's just so so I'm coming from like a web backend as well, which is where Go really shines. And like the fact that it compiles so easily into multiple different platforms, and it works really well in containerized setups. So yeah, that's why I like it.
Yeah, fair. That makes sense. For me, anything that needs to be compiled, I'm like,
I mean, the nice thing you can run Go as interpreted as well. You just need to install Go, so it's not really that much different than Python in that regard. So
it makes sense. To be honest, I've not really done a lot of stuff in Go, so just like the last thing I did was a CTF challenge, and that was like months ago. So
I mean, a lot of popular tools are written in it, because for like dir busting and stuff, like you got GoBuster and like a bunch of them, because that concurrency there is like so important. That's how they get so fast, is being able to handle that easily. Like Go has channels, which I really like. So like you can throw all the stuff from your different threads like into the channel and then deal with it. And it makes something that I found very challenging, like that concept of threads, and a lot easier to deal with.
It can get quite messy quite quickly in some languages, for sure.
Yes.
So
looking at you, C.
Yeah. All right, so let me pick out a few more quick fire questions. Another one from Dan. So good questions coming in from Dan. So the exam, open book or closed book? I mean,
100% open book. And like, I will say this, like, do not treat this like it is a high school or university exam. Treat it like you are working in your job. Like, I worked Helpdesk. I have Google or ChatGPT open constantly.
I used ChatGPT when I took it, for sure.
Yeah.
Because
so like
when I'm working with Active Directory, like I don't know what all the group policies do off the top of my head. And so like, you know, a very quick way of checking that is using like ChatGPT, and it's gonna,
and that's totally okay. Like I there's no issue with the fact that like Google and ChatGPT or Claude or whatever can help you ace this exam, because that is how it's going to be in the real world. Like if you ask any IT professional, they will say that Googling things is like a very like it's one of the top skills you need to know how to do. And like the tickets don't specifically say, you know, like you need to do this exact technical jargon of the thing you need to do. It would be like an end user being like, hey, I want this accomplished. So you need to have the know-how to, you know, either phrase that in a Google term or like search for how to do that, because that's how it will be in real world. But yeah. And I mean, yeah, you can go back. The course itself is 17 hours though, and the exam is 8 hours. So like you may want to bookmark it, so and watch
it on 3x. You can find
exactly. But yeah, you can go back, look at the course notes, whatever.
Yeah,
and I would encourage you to.
Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do, and also take notes while you're taking the exam. Why wouldn't you? Why don't you take a learning experience and make the most of it? For sure. Ooh, if I have to retake the exam a third or fourth attempt. So when you buy the exam, you get a free retake. So if you then fail it twice, I'm going to assume you'd then have to buy the voucher again. And again, you'd have 2 takes. So you'd have the main one and then a retake.
It's not, no, it's 90. It's the same for this one. So all of our exams, you can then get a retake for I think it's $99.
Okay, so it's a cheaper retake.
Yeah. However, like I think if you do the training for this exam, read the questions and the knowledge base, and then if you were to fail it on the first time, like I think very few people will have a hard time on the second time, provided they took all the training, did all the hands-on. It's not designed to be a trick thing, and it's not designed to like intentionally throw people off. It's very much designed to mimic that real world job experience or job.
I think that's the same with all our exams as well.
Like, 100%.
We don't try and put stuff out that's tricks, because that's not what real life is going to be like. We try and put something out that is going to be like, this is what it feels like to do this every day.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's an interesting experience as well, because if you do the exam and you realize you hate it, then maybe you're going into the wrong career path.
100%.
It'd be a nice early warning system. If you're like, I never want to see a ticket again after your exam, then 99% of your job is going to be what's on the exam. Same with our our web app exams, and same with our pen test exams. We give you time for the reporting side and everything else. So you have to do everything, and even debrief meetings like with the PMPT. If you don't like the whole experience, then think about what you're doing with your time and where you want to be, for sure.
100%. Yeah, it's almost like I mean, $149 cert is a lot cheaper than getting into a career you don't like.
yeah, that's it. 3 years in, and you're like, oh no, because you're $149 deep, and you're like, what's the sunk cost fallacy? And then you can never stop becoming a help desk engineer.
Yeah.
Good question from Adriana. Would we say the exam is similar to a range environment? So I'm trying to think of other examples of range environments outside of TCM that like people know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to like our range environments. Like, yeah, without spoiling too much, like it's not all too different from some of our other certifications that focus around Active Directory in an office environment, except instead of breaking stuff, you're fixing stuff in this one. So yeah, like it is. Yeah, it's you know, it's a simulated environment, or like I shouldn't, simulated is maybe not even the right word. Like it is a small office environment that you get access to and only you have access to for that exam.
Yeah, that's it. And there's no multiple choice questions.
Nothing
Like that. So
no, there's nothing that like, I tried hard to make it even not really specifically feel like you're an exam, if that makes sense, you know, like without being too like, you know, cringy in the role play and whatnot. But like, yeah, everything is very much like the knowledge base and all that, really to mimic what you would feel like in a real environment.
Yeah, nice. Ooh, any future Linux sets? I don't know.
I don't think so, but
yeah.
I mean, like there
Maybe
is Linux
eventually.
in this cert.
Yeah.
Like you need to know Linux to like, but yeah, I could see us maybe making a more advanced course possibly, but I don't think that would be something that we would attach a cert to.
Yeah, maybe in a few years we'll see. If we had more content creators, because obviously we focus a lot on security, and we're not like totally limited, but of course we all have our like backgrounds and specializations, and so we only create content on stuff that we're confident in and that we have experience in. So for example, I'm not going to create a Golang course because I'm not a Golang expert, right? And so yeah, it's same with, I feel like we're all pretty competent with Linux, but I don't think any of us are like senior Linux systems administrators or have that kind of background. So maybe we'd have to bring somebody in to do something like that. So we'll see. I know that some companies just churn stuff out, but we do try and make sure that we only publish stuff that we know about, basically.
So, 100%. If I was to do something Linux based, I would want to do like compiling and building Linux and like coding drivers and stuff. But
yeah,
I don't know how much that's like kind of a little down the rabbit hole here.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let me take another question from my side, and then I've got a few more that I can see that are some good ones from the chats. But one that also I kind of saw in the chat as well. So for people who are having trouble getting into their first tech role or their first IT help desk role in the current market, what would you say? What advice would you give them?
So the biggest one is right now you need to be doing something to stand out from other applicants, and probably a cert is not enough for that. At least even like a cert that's, you know, attached to multiple choice or that's easily attainable for all the other applicants is not going to make you stand out. So for me, one of the things that's I think is the easiest to do that everyone should be doing is, you know, have a blog, start writing about it, start being active on LinkedIn about what you're working on, start networking through LinkedIn, find communities either locally or like Discord channels. You know, TCM one is a good one. We've got some other like almost like sister channels or friends of TCM. Hack Smarter is a good one with Tyler Ramsby. Red Society Club is another good one. Like these smaller Discord servers, find those communities too, because a lot of times those networking opportunities are going to come from people in there. They know someone, they introduce you. So the combo of those two, good networking and make yourself stand out with a blog or a YouTube or something that shows like, hey, I'm really passionate about that. Because yeah, you're right. Right now it's tough to land that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for me as well, if you want, like I think one of the reasons how I got the job at TCM was that I was live streaming like to a very small audience, like
Yeah.
average 20 people or something like this. But I was doing prep for like security exams, and I was building like little CTFs and doing like try hack me and CTF boxes, and I was just live streaming for a while. And I did the interview for TCM, and then Zach, who was working at TCM at the time, was like, "Oh yeah, I dropped into your live stream," and he was like, "Yeah, he really liked it." And so obviously that was
Yeah.
like probably one of the big factors how I landed this role as well. So yeah, even just just do something fun and give back to the community, and I think I've heard Keith say this: you never know who's watching. And that's a big thing, which is why I try not to rant too much about different things. But
people see stuff. Yeah. Oh, and also
yeah.
like Heath says this too. But like there's always someone that like wants to be in the position you are in right now. Like no matter like where you feel like you are, there's someone that you could be helping. And like a lot of people in tech and cybersecurity are really good for this, that like, yes, I'm going to now help because people helped me get into this, because it's a complicated field and it is hard to get into. So, I mean, also be that person, because that stands out. People see that, they love to see that. So whether that's mentoring or whatever that is, be that person to help those behind you, and also seek out a mentor yourself as well.
Yeah, for sure. I actually get a lot of messages on LinkedIn about mentoring requests. Unfortunately, my time is quite limited, as much as I would like to take on and help out more people, but it's tricky. But if you have the time and you can help people,
and like you probably get a lot because people like see you on your stream, and like you would 100% be able to do a good job mentoring people. But like I'm sure there's the thousands, probably more, no offense to you, but with like your knowledge, skills that aren't streamers, that probably, if you go and find them and ask, they probably maybe haven't, no one's asked them, like
there's a lot of talented people in the field for sure.
Exactly. So like, maybe
don't most of them are hanging out on Discord as well. So if you get to know people on Discord, that's that's the best way to do it for sure. No, 100% right. Yeah, for sure. There was a really good question, which is a prediction question. From Shink. What's up, Shink? Best cybersecurity role in the future. So let's break this down into like a couple of different things in terms of what do we think the sectors that are growing are, and what sectors are going to like plateau, or what sectors might be. By sectors, I mean like branches of security. What's going to be impacted a lot by up and coming tools like things like AI or new processes or changes in the industry. What do you think the best and most interesting role is going to be? Because the best role might be the one that's most accessible, but that might not be most interesting as well.
It's funny that like we were literally talking about this before we came on the stream. But like I think like AppSec, code review, DevSecOps, those kind of roles are going to be very highly in demand. I mean, I use AI all the time. So like not to like be like, oh, AI is bad, or we have like a joke about like the code it writes and whatnot. Like it definitely has its place, and I use it all the time to speed up my job. But like I catch mistakes in it all the time and fix them. And like it saved me a lot of time because I didn't have to write all this boilerplate, and I know those mistakes because I'm getting it to write scripts or code in languages that I already know how to write. But I think it's going to lead to a proliferation of stuff that is not secure. And even if companies are rolling out like no code, low code, whatever solutions, prompt engineered solutions, then it's going to be reliant on, DevSecOps, AppSec, code review. I can see code review being really big because maybe you can save money on the front ends by having AI write code. But, if you're sane, you want human eyes to look over it and see what's up with that. So
One
That's
one of the key things that I wanna highlight that you mentioned is the no code thing, because I've previously worked at a huge tech company and
yeah,
also had the chance to work with like CIOs and stuff like that, and kind of like query them on where they think things are going.
yeah,
And about every 5 years, there's a big spike in no code or things like this, and I call it like drag drop development.
yeah,
And there is a use case for it. Don't get
yeah.
me wrong. And obviously, modern development is way more abstracted than it used to be. With like we
Totally.
have frameworks and things like this that we didn't used to have.
Yeah,
But honestly, it's like a cycle that happens every 5 years, and you've just reminded me. And I think
yeah. It's
yeah,
back.
eventually.
It's back. We'll see. No code is one of those terms that I find so funny. It's like serverless. Like
Yeah.
there's
There's still a
code.
server.
You just don't. There's code. It's just like you don't
Yeah.
know what it's doing. Yeah, serverless. There's still a server. Like it's not running.
Yeah.
It's not running in the air like out of thin air, right? Yeah, no code. There's code somewhere. You just don't see it at all now.
But it's like it's like WordPress or Wix, right? It's kind of like there's stuff for it makes it more accessible, but good luck building Twitter on
Yeah,
Wix or
like
WordPress. It's like
once you get into complex backend and scaling and trying to do things, yeah, I think it's going to be.
So there's always going to be jobs for that. But I think, personally, I think AppSec is never going to go away. I think that some of it, there'll be more of a influence on like the standard developer will have to know more about security, and I think they will have more responsibility for security. But I don't think AppSec is gonna disappear anytime soon, and everything is a web app these days. So that's it.
100%. All that. Very much agree.
If I'm not sure if Andrew Prince is in the stream, Malware Cube, SOC 201 when he's working on it day and night. So I don't know if you're out there, Andrew. You feel free to drop some hints.
All we can say is soon TM.
Yeah, soon. If we could clone Andrew Prince so that it came after, we would. But sorry, we only have we've got two Andrews, but they're working on different things, so all good. Right, let me see. I've got a couple more questions, and there are a bunch more in the chat. We're still doing okay for time, I think. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So if you go to tcm.rocks prog-rs, then you're all good. I
think that's the intro to programming.
Yeah,
or it's Rust programming. One of the two.
It's all good. Interesting one. We should do our own build your own CNC course. This is a cool side project, but I also think that it's been done quite a lot. So for me, if I was looking for like a side project for a new job or something, I would try and pick something that's not like been done too much. So for example, where I used to work, we had a pen tester on, and he built a script that basically automatically connects to all shares in a network, reads all of the clear text files, and then does like a regex search for passwords or potential passwords. Because guess what? The easiest way to get domain admin is by finding their password in a script that's on an open file share. And that was really useful. And two, not something that I'd seen like kicking around on the internet. It probably exists somewhere, but if you're in an environment where it needs to be changed or you need to do something else, then they obviously know how that goes about. So this is like I say, a cool project, but if you can pick something that's like a little bit more niche, maybe. What do you think?
Stay tuned to the assembly course, because I did not have time for this. But myself and one member of the community who beta tested my course and is like a really good developer and low-level security person, we started coding out. Honestly, it's been mostly him, because I told him I wanted to do this and I wasn't going to have time. A very basic command and control in assembly. So when I have some time, which, you know, I don't have a lot, but
Nice.
like I'm going to add that as another chapter at the end of it as like the capstone to like code a basic command and control in assembly, which is going to be super cool. Like he got it working and stuff, so I kind of just got to record the videos and like show what to do.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, so watch that. And then for projects, since I actually got asked this today on LinkedIn, and what I said is you should make your project, if you can, be like one of 3 or 4 things. Either A, it saves a company time, B, it saves a company money, or C, it's like a deliverable or close to a deliverable. If they see one of those 3, and like you said, with this, like that would save time and money, that password, whatever script. Yeah, try and do that, because like then you're already showing value to the company. At least in my opinion, that would help you stand out.
Yeah, nice. Here's a cool question. Your first hack in cybersecurity. Don't incriminate yourself.
Okay. I've only ever, like in high school, I found a way. It was like a, I don't even know if I guess it would have been Active Directory back then, but there was something with SMB shares. And I don't, this is so long ago, this is almost over 20 years now, but myself and another person in computers class figured out that you could access all of the desktops of every computer in our school's environment. And like you could only transfer a small amount, but like you could put folders and stuff like that. So we started doing that because we had a supply teacher in our tech course and we were like bored. And like we did it to all the library, like, and nothing, like we were just like, I think I was like 14 or 15 at the time, but it was just like, oh, hi. Or like, you know, we would just be creating like a bunch of folders that said like, hey, or like, we see you. And like, anyway, the whole school got like all freaked out, and like the teachers were coming into every classroom. And I remember like the supply teacher was like, I think these guys are up to something. And the librarian had come in and she was like, no, there's no way it's them. Like they didn't do it. And we were just kind of like, oh. So anyway, we got busted the next day when like the tech teacher came back. Obviously, like he looked into a few logs and was like, oh, it was you guys. And I was like, yeah. And I got like a talking to and learn about doing things ethically. And like that's the only time I've actually ever done something that was like maybe not, you know, it wasn't like super malicious, but yeah, that was my first hack. Before I didn't even know what cybersecurity. I just like computers and, you know, poking around, seeing what you can do when you're bored at the school computer, and found that out and did it.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Here's a good question from Circuits. Can someone pass the exam with only prior help desk experience? So what's your view on needing experience to clear the exam?
You don't need it, but there were people that did pass it without taking my course. So 100%, because yeah, it's designed to be like what you do in your real job. So like, yeah, like I think maybe about half the people that did the beta did not do the or did not take the course. So half the people that passed from the beta were in that scenario.
Nice. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So I think like if you do have past experience, then you're going to be more confident going in. But also, again, don't go in and be like really cocky and be like, oh, I know how to do everything. Because again, if you haven't read the knowledge base, or if you're not used to like a different process, you're probably gonna make a few mistakes here and there. So all goods. All right, let's take a couple more. This is an interesting question from JJ. So, will the certification be recognized by any specific corporations or companies? So this is an interesting case in that, like, there are very few organizations that are officially recognized by organizations or companies. Yes. Obviously, the main thing here is that some companies will put on their job postings, this certification would be useful. And some of our certifications are on quite a few job postings. But in terms of like specific corporations and companies, one of the big things is that we're not recognized by like the government, because we don't agree with proctoring and we don't agree with expiring certifications. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, like in terms of official recognition from those big organizations, no, because we're not going to bend to people who don't know what they're talking about, basically. But from the perspective of like other organizations, yeah, like maybe not just yet because the certification's only just released, but I'm sure you'll see on future job applications the
Yeah.
certification listed.
Yeah. Yeah. And like people may have seen this on our social media, but like we're also doing a lot of work in the background because we are very confident in our certifications and what they signal to hiring managers or HR. And that like if you have a TCM certification for a role, that means that you are going to be able to succeed at that role and pick it up pretty quickly. And you've already done like the things you're going to need to do in that role. Like I've never once answered a multiple choice question in my job outside of like security training quizzes, which like, I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to be the
Yeah.
best managed awareness security training clicker, yes. But outside of that, I have never answered a multiple choice question, and you probably never will. But have I done the things that are in the help desk exam, the IoT exam, other ones? Like, yes, all the time. I've done those exact things. So we are working very hard to, get this cert out to as many hiring managers and people so that they recognize it. Because I think like our community that takes our certs knows that, right? Like, they're no joke. Like I think that was literally what the CIO that took it was like, these certs are no joke. Like it took him 7 hours to do the cert, and he was like, it's no joke. Like I am confident that anyone that took this would be able to excel at the job. So we're trying to get as many companies to recognize that as possible.
Yeah, makes sense. Nice. Couple of good kind of like slightly offbeat questions. This is a good question because I used to ask this to a lot of people on stream, but I don't think I've asked you before. So what advice would you give to your younger self, assuming that you have the same goals and aspirations as you do currently?
Yeah,
Not
I
like
would say just go for it. And I give this advice to like a lot of people as well that ask me for it, because like I was stuck in an engineering job that I didn't really like for quite a while, and I didn't just go for it. But like I get a lot of people asking me like, when should I start applying for help desk jobs? And it's like, obviously you don't want to apply if like you're really not like, you're going to be doing a disservice to yourself. But like if you've taken the help desk course, you're comfortable on computers, like don't ask me when you should start doing it. Like just go apply, get some interviews, see what happens, And same with other roles. Like, if you feel like you meet 50% of the criteria, you feel like personally you could succeed and be happy in that job, start applying. The worst thing that's happened is you're going to start hearing no's. But yeah, that would be mine. Just go for it. Just whatever you want to do, try it, do it.
And getting interview experience is also really good as well. So
yeah,
there's
100%.
Well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when I started training Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I had a coach and he said to me, he was like, oh, you're going to do a competition soon? And I was like, I've only been training like 2 weeks. And he's like, no, the thing is if you do it now and have like get a bunch of competitions under your belt, when you actually get good and you go to a competition, you're not going to be like killed with nerves, and you're not going to be able to like think about not know what you're doing or not do like an illegal heel hook on somebody or something like this. And he's like, just get the experience in. The result doesn't actually matter. And it's the same for applying for jobs.
Yeah, interviews. Yeah, 100%. Because I mean, I always tell people like interview for it, see how it goes. If you get the offer, you can turn it down. You can decide then, but like you had that experience.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to give everybody a sneak preview as to what you're working on? What are you working on next? What have you got in the pipeline?
The pipeline next for me is, as far as I know, a security course that will be part of the free tier. So like the help desk does have like about an hour, I would say, of like, very basic security knowledge, but going more in depth about the topics you would need to know and understand to work in cybersecurity, but not like at the SOC 101 level of like hands-on doing IR, like that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm going to start working on. This, I guess this exam just came out like 2 days ago, so it's been that and like clean up from that, but that will be the next like major thing, which I'm excited for. I love doing the free tier courses. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the free tier is always well received as well, because the audience for it is massive, and yeah, being able to provide free content is great as well. So yeah, we do our best to give as much back as we can, for sure. I mean, if we could, everything would be free. But unfortunately, we also have to keep the lights on. So, but I think like compared to like our competitors and stuff like that, we try and give back as much as possible. So that's
Yeah, I mean, like for those of you watching, if you don't know already, like we have a free tier with I think it's got about 25 hours of like very high quality. Like this is not your average free courses. One of the courses, for example, was paid, and we didn't like knock it down because we didn't think it was the value. We're just like, this course is so important right now to everyone. This is a soft skills course that like we should just make it free. And that's one of the things I love about TCM and working for Heath. Heath was like, yeah, no brainer. We're just going to make this free because like everyone should have access to this right now. So yeah, if you haven't, check it out. And also I would ask of our community, one thing to give back, like if these courses aren't for you because you're past like that stage in your career where, I already know all these foundations, I'm sure there's someone that would like actually really appreciate you sharing it with them, letting them know about it. And we would appreciate that too, because we're literally just trying to get the word out and help as many people as we can with these free courses.
Yeah. Sharing is caring and all of that. So exactly. I think we kind of like talked about this a little bit in the, I think we both agree that AppSec is an upcoming or a growing trend. But anything outside of like roles and outside of AI, because that's the easy answer, what do you think people should keep an eye on in terms of certifications, things to learn, etc., etc.?
That's tough. I'm gonna give an answer that's maybe a cop out for this, but I would say like find the things you like that are relevant and keep an eye on those and do those, because if you're just kind of chasing the trends and whatnot, like they come and go, and it's easy to put work into something that maybe you're not passionate about and it'd be a trend and then it goes away. But if it's something you're passionate about and want to do, then no wasted time. I think we talked about this with Bug Bounty as well, Alex. Like if you want to do it without getting paid and like that gives you something back in some way, then yeah, that's really good. And if you get paid, it's a bonus. So I don't know. That's my opinion on the matter.
And that's why I do like AppSec stuff and like web app, because that's what I like doing. And if it wasn't as popular as it was, I'd still probably do it.
Yeah.
So
me too. Like I've been doing IoT and hardware stuff and it's kind of picking up now, but like when I started a long time ago, like that wasn't even a thing. Like I was just hacking routers and stuff because it was fun and I wanted to see what you could do, right? So yeah,
nice. All right, let's take one last question, which is going to be a careers question before we wrap up then. And
certainly,
what's the best way to apply for jobs? This is an interesting one.
Oh yeah, okay. So the best way, in my opinion, is if you have someone else that can make an introduction for you or refer you. I mean, nowadays, like there's a lot of referrals where they're just kind of like, the company puts it out there for promotion and like the person doesn't necessarily know you, but they get like a 5% bonus or something. I mean, even that's better than nothing if you can, but the best way, is if someone can make an introduction to you, because you're already like above and beyond. You'll be on the short list for sure. So this is where all of that networking comes into play, and like, eventually those kind of things will pan out where people will know someone that or you can ask for an introduction. So that's the best way. I mean, if you don't have that, then honestly, the best way is to follow how the company wants you to do for the most part. Like, Yeah, I know there's a lot of things that are like, oh, just show up with a resume or do this, but like
Yeah.
unless you know someone or you have an in, then like if you're applying for them, then it's best to follow whatever procedure the company asks you to do. That's my opinion, at least.
Yeah, it makes sense. For me as well, I think there's arguments for different approaches in the like applying, like casting your net very wide and
Hmm.
then seeing what comes back. But I think once you're already in the field and you've got a few years experience, I think then, like for me, when I apply for jobs, I'm very particular about what I
Yes.
apply for. And don't let this sound like bragging, but I've never applied for a job and not got an interview. And then only once in my whole life have I never gone to an interview and not gotten either a follow-up or an offer. But
Yeah.
I'm very like, I'm like the whaling approach, like the very specific
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah.
I'll research a company a lot and I'll make sure that I have the right skills and everything in
Yep.
place.
100%.
And there is a different approach where you could apply for like lots of jobs and be like, you know, and something comes back. But I think for me, this approach works. I'm quite detail oriented from that
Yes.
perspective, and I like to be very like specific. So
Yeah, 100%.
yeah,
I think that works better once you have some experience under your belt, because then
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's an interesting one. I should probably do a video at some point about how like I prep for this kind of thing, because yeah, it's a funny one where like I've definitely turned down more jobs than like than I've been
Yes.
like turned down for, if that makes sense. Like way more, for example. So
Yeah,
so yeah,
I'm in a similar boat as you. So I did not get, I got an interview, but did not get hired by Microsoft. And then if you search, there's a video we talked about where I did bomb a pen testing interview one time, and we talked, I think we made a little video about that if people want to see it. But yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
and
was
there's
a good
no
video. Yeah.
what's that? Sorry?
That was a good video.
That was a funny video, yeah. But yeah, there's like, it's not bad to like interview and then come to the end and be like, no, it's not going to work out, because like, yeah, it's very good interview experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's useful. Like, and to be honest, you don't know unless you go for an interview. Like,
Mhm.
you know, there's
Yeah.
plenty of companies where I've interviewed and there's just been way too many red flags, and I'm like,
Yes.
I'm
Yep.
good. So
We
sometimes they follow up and they're like, why did you withdraw your application? I'm like, do I really have to tell you? Like,
Yeah.
there was all of these issues. And
Yep.
I was like, a friend of mine was doing a pen test interview and he was like, oh, they asked me about getting RCE through SQL injection on I can't remember which database it was. Must have been MS, like SQL Server.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh yeah, you know, you could do this, but only if it's out of date and like if you have these permissions. And then they were like, what's the exact command to do it? And he's like, get out.
Yeah.
He's just like, no, I'm not doing this. Like what's
Yeah. Let me Google that for you.
yeah.
Questions. Yeah.
Tell me the exact command for a SQL injection for an application that you don't know the source code for,
Yeah.
and tell me this really specific payload.
Yeah.
And it's like MS exec or something like that. But honestly,
Yeah.
like those kinds of red flags, it's like no.
Yeah.
Obviously, the pen test team are just like the people there were just clueless. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I was talking about this with one of the newest folks at TCM here, Matthew Twells, and he put out an infographic that we brainstormed together of like questions you should ask your interviewer, and a lot of them are to spot red flags, because I've been in that scenario too, where like there was just too many red flags, and they came with like a good like offer from like the other things that I would want, but I was like no. And the same thing, like they were like, what? And then the HR person like asked for an interview, which I did, and then I was up front and I was like, yeah, all these things. But yeah, I wouldn't have known them if I didn't take the interviews and go through the questions and ask them myself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and it's tricky. Sometimes you have choices, and sometimes it's, unfortunately, even if there are red flags, sometimes you have to go through it and do the trials by fire. And like most of us have been there, where you're like a one-person team and you've had to deal with loads of stuff that you learn a lot, but it's not fond memories. But all good. All right, so I think that kind of wraps us up for today. If you have any other questions, Discord is the way to go, or reach out to Andrew on LinkedIn, because you're pretty active on LinkedIn as well. So
Yeah, I am very active. I always say I have an open inbox. Like, it might take me a little while to get back to you, but it's help desk related, IoT hacking related, career related. Feel free to shoot me a message, and I will at some point get back to you. And if your request for what you want is reasonable, I will do it.
nice. All right, well, that's it for today.